I actually measured my dick the other day. So that's actually a good question, dude. I don't know if I measured it wrong or what, but
All right, welcome guests to the second episode of Not Another Fraudulent podcast, which Bostin chose to name, just for everyone to know. This is Dave Smith, our first guest on the podcast. Dave, would you introduce yourself to our audience a bit while we wait for Bostin?
How's it going,
How did you meet
fellas?
Bostin?
My name's Dave. I'm a friend of Bostin and Leo's, and we're going to talk to you guys today about some kidney issues and whatever else Leo and Bostin want to talk about. And I'm 46 years old, soon to be 47, April 1st, from just outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania. You guys know where that is, and I'm a fan of the show.
Well, it's good to have you on. I've been talking to Dave over, I guess it's been 2 months or a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah, a couple months now.
Yeah, a couple months actually. We talk consistently about Boston's issues, but we won't get into them until he joins. I think he was waiting for you to join, to be honest. He's like, oh, is Dave on? Oh, he's opening the link. Okay, good news. Did you see that Bostin was on RX Muscle today? I just saw that. I just started watching it.
He's on every show now, man.
Yeah,
it's like he's the tabloid scandal sheet star of the week or whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, yeah, that's true as well. You mean that a lot of people making videos about him?
Yeah,
that's true. That's true. I don't watch them all because I'm concerned that someone says something mean or something and I get annoyed.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about that too. That there's a lot of cruel people out there, and you know how it is, man. Like you get people like when Rich died, you got half of them are sympathetic, and then the other half are a bunch of scumbags that want to say good for him and I'm glad he's dead and all that fucking nonsense. So
exactly, but they wouldn't say that stuff to him when he was alive. Yeah, those are the people probably that never warn people about their health. Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, but actually, I didn't get any really negative comments on my video about Boston. I got maybe 5 or so that I banned, but Bostin said the comment section on RX Muscle was less civil.
I honestly really don't. Besides you, Dave, do set once in a while. Derek from More Plates. I really don't. I don't check out Fouad show, your buddy, or or some of these other guys. You know what I mean? But I see it when it pops up on YouTube. All the clickbait stuff on there, and it's all Bostin Loyd kidney failure and all this nonsense.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I think there was one from Tony Huge also. I didn't watch it either.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there was. He has to keep changing his accounts because I think they banned him on one account. So he has one called Anabolic Heroes. Actually, while we're here talking about this, the Tony Huge reminded me. I want to mention again Amino Asylum, who I'm not sponsored by. I do not get money from. But now, because I mentioned them a few times, they've been giving me free SR9009, which is where I get mine from. I rely on them. I know the owner. And today I found out that they have HCG also. So I'm thinking of going back on HCG after a year and a half of being totally natural. Since, by the way, you know about my daughter. My wife is pregnant with a daughter.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, we're so happy about it. Today I made a joke on the other show that because my wife and I have been trying to find a name, right? And she's French, and I'm Arab English-ish. Those are the languages. So I mentioned to her as a joke, Detroit, the name, because Detroit is actually Detroit, which means of two, and it's like a symbol of America's downfall. Also, I said that slightly joking.
Man, just get on trend.
Huh?
I said, fuck the HCG, just go right to trend.
No. But anyway, we were talking about some funny stuff on SMS about the QAnon stuff. And on my other podcast, I was asking people what is Q, and they didn't know what it was. And I don't honestly know much about it either. Would you tell us?
Okay, so if you really, now the followers of Q, they call them QAnons or whatever, Anons or whatever the hell. I don't follow it that deeply, but I follow this one guy. He has a podcast. He's actually a local guy from Exeter, PA. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he's 100% legit or not, but he came from, he's actually a real estate agent by trade. and he started doing this political podcast not too long ago. And he started off with a few hundred subscribers or something. And he's the last video I saw on YouTube, he's got to be up to 150,000, 200,000 views within a matter of 2 months since the whole election thing. So anyway, long story short, he considers himself to be one of these QAnons or whatever. So it's theorized that this Q is either one person or several people, high-ranking people in the military in the United States. And what they do is they seem to they leak information in these Q drops or whatever. And it's, they kind of make references, like you can pull some of them up and they'll be like, XYZ is going to happen, this, that, and the other thing. And, it's kind of like, if you Google it or something, they consider it, you'll get the result of it's a right-wing conspiracy theory, but I take it with a grain of salt. Some of it, again, and I can't really even give you too many examples of predictions that they've had that came true because I'm not into it that closely, but some of them apparently have. So
it sounds like GH15, huh, Boston?
What, the whole thing he was talking about?
The Q thing.
Well,
How you doing?
I literally just had got on, so I didn't know what you guys were talking about. But
I was just watching you on TV. You were on RX Muscle.
Oh yeah, I did the thing. That's crazy, man. When I went, I told Dave no at first, and then he begged me to go, and then there's like 6 people on there. Like I was like, I can't.
There's too many people. That's the thing.
Way too many people. I will never do that again, man.
Lenny had a bad experience also because there are too many people. I can't have more than 4 people because then everyone will interrupt each other.
No, it wasn't. I'll never do it again.
3 is actually the best dynamic.
Yeah,
I think. That's really funny. I was trying to watch you, but then someone cut you off, and then someone cut that person off, and then I lost you, and I was like, whatever. Yeah. The worst part is when I'm not talking about it, but I love Dave and the podcast also, but there's this old guy that sells cookies. I don't know anything about him. And whenever I fast forward, it goes back to him or Jimmy Palecchia, who I have difficulty tolerating because I feel like he exaggerates his weights a lot.
Yeah, he was yelling,
and he's always yelling.
He was yelling when I got on there.
Yeah, he's always yelling in an emergency, but it's quite funny actually. Yeah.
Well, we did a RX podcast in the actual New York studios, me and Ariella, in 2014, with Jimmy the Bull, Dave Palumbo, some female bodybuilders, and also that Eugene Mission bodybuilder, the big 300-pound Russian guy. And that's still on. So I know him. And I think it's a little bit of an act, the way he does on there.
Oh, he's more normal in real life?
Yeah, he's not like that in person.
So, okay, so we have a list of things that we have to begin with. Number 1, Boston. Basically, everyone in YouTube fitness that talks about steroids in any way has made a video about you.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Me and Dave were talking about it. Like, what the fuck?
The funny thing is our video got demonetized at 15,000, which is why it hasn't grown anymore. It stopped being... I have maybe 10 people who report every video. So I think we must have sworn in the video because that's where they can technically get you if they report the time of the swearing or whatever. I don't care. But the point is less people saw it. And that's why it was less popular. Once it got to 15, it just stopped. But so did you watch any of them? I know you're a masochist slightly.
I watched a little bit of the one that Ron Harris did, and then the worst one that there was a bunch of lies talking was the one that Ron Harris did with the phony doctor at MD.
Oh, who was that doctor? The Greek one?
The fake doctor. No. His name is Dr. Thomas O'Connor.
Oh, wait.
I call him the fake doctor. He's like some stupid family practitioner, and he thinks he's like some steroid genius.
I think the white guy is like middle-aged, normal-looking.
Trust me, everyone bags on him on the videos that he does. He rubbed. I did an interview with him in 2015, and people ate him apart because he's just so arrogant.
Is he the steroid doctor? The one they call
they call him the anabolic doc.
Oh, trying to find a picture of him.
It was on.
Oh, that idiot! Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. He's really stupid, by the way. Yeah. If you watch any of his videos, you realize this guy is not only does he not know what he's talking about, and he's using this credibility and doctor, all that kind of stuff, but he's not even coherent. He doesn't even have normal biological knowledge. Like, he doesn't read any papers, doesn't know anything.
I watched the first 10 minutes and I already caught those guys in lies. Ron Harris was like, yeah, Boston's starting dialysis. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow. I didn't even know that.
And then the anabolic doc was like, yeah, he told Dave Palumbo that he has protein in his pee. And I'm like, I never fucking told Dave that because I don't even know that. I haven't even got it tested yet.
You mentioned that you had dark semen. The guy got the whole thing wrong.
Yeah, I had dead blood in my cum.
Dude, that doctor's a fucking imbecile.
Yeah,
He's an imbecile.
Ah, there we go.
Imbecile, man. All that guy does is talk shit. He goes on these videos and tells you, "Oh, steroids are so great. This is amazing. Tren is amazing," and then he tells you don't take the shit.
Yeah.
He actually knows very little about biology. You know, the thing is, guys got to think about it this way. If a guy goes to med school and he goes to a crappy one, he's a nerd, but stupid. Like, he's a guy who kept wanting to go to school, but he kept getting into crappy schools. So always look at the school that your doctor went to or did the residency.
I looked him up a little bit because
You don't want a stupid nerd on your case.
I fell for the trap because he had no following when I did a video with him, and he reached out to me and I was like, oh, he's a doctor. Like, this guy, you know, and he had like 0 fucking views. And I like helped this guy get views like an idiot. And then I look back, then he's talking to MD, and dude, he works at like some family practitioner. He works at like a doctor's office with like 10 other doctors.
Yeah, very interesting. He's made. I wonder if does he work for an HRT clinic?
No, he doesn't work for an HRT clinic. He's like a family practitioner.
Anyway, so everyone made videos about you. I didn't watch any of them, but that's one thing I wanted to mention. The second thing is, oh yeah, there's something funny Fouad is doing. So I wanted to mention this. Has nothing to do with his videos. I've been trying to take a detox from Fouad's videos because I realize they're making me stupider. But in between, someone sent me a message. So with a screenshot of Fouad's Instagram. So Fouad's by the way, guys, for the non-fraudulent podcast, it's based on the fraudulent podcast. So it's like, it's a joke. So Fouad, we're always going to update people on Fouad stuff a little bit. So he has this picture he posted on Instagram of him wearing a mental health shirt from a car company. Some car company made a cause for a mental health thing. He took on their campaign, took a t-shirt and posted it online. However, this guy I know, who's a mutual friend of ours, by the way, texted me about this and said that someone he knows personally sent Fouad the same request 6 months before. The message is read that he wants him to help for mental health. But the guy is a nobody, doesn't have a car company, so he didn't post the thing. Then now he posted, and today he says he's going to make a mental health initiative for his clothing company.
That guy's such an ultimate phony.
Yeah, he really is. I'm surprised we got so much hate on the last episode. I think because
you and Dante Trudel ever talk anymore?
Not anymore. I have to get it. Maybe I should get him on this podcast.
Get him on the podcast.
I know, right? Okay, people comment below if you want Dante Trudel in the podcast. I think that would be very interesting.
Obviously, he would never do it with me, but yeah, you should have him on.
I bet he will.
No, he would never, but I would be down.
I bet he will. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly who never heard of it. That's what they say. So
he's another guy. He's another guy that keeps telling people that I work for the Fed. So maybe you could bring him on. I could ask him why the fuck he thinks that.
Dante says that. Oh yeah, you told me that.
Number one guy that spreads that.
Really?
He spells my name wrong. He's like BOSTONLOL. Yeah, it was a text that got, and then I reposted it. I was like, this guy's an idiot. He was like, Bostin Loyd's a Fed, and he spelled my name all fucked up.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned this on the podcast. So I researched this subject extensively because 2 different people told me that Boston was a Fed, and I was not looking for views when I mentioned Greg Doucette being a snitch. I actually don't like snitches. So Boston was already my friend. So I directly confronted him with the evidence, and we discussed it on the phone extensively. And I concluded that he was not an informant in any kind of way. And this happened a couple months ago. But it's funny you bring that up. You should tell the audience how seriously I took it. I called you. I was like, actually, I texted you and you told me to call you, huh?
I told you exactly step for step, everything that happened.
Yeah, literally everything in detail. Yeah. Anyway, so couple more things. Well, Dave, why don't you tell the audience, me and you, what we've been talking back and forth since you first heard from Boston? Why did Boston ask you about his kidneys, first of all?
Tell the story. Tell that story.
Maybe we should go back to how I actually met this.
Yeah,
guy.
exactly.
So I had some EPO in my refrigerator that was getting ready to expire. And I'm kind of like him where I have OCD, and I'm looking at that shit and I'm like, this shit's so expensive. I can't let it go to waste. And I wasn't using it, so Leo, let me ask you this. What do you think? Take a guess on it. 1 cc, 1 ml, 10,000 units of EPO. What do you think the hospital would bill you or bill your insurance company for that?
I have no idea. I have no idea how much they sell it at because it should be quite cheap now.
10,000.
Really?
10,000 for
Wow.
one
CC.
little vial of 10,000 units, 10 grand. They were billing my insurance company.
Oh, they go
Wow,
by
that's
units like
robbery.
that. They're recombinant. You have to add water to it.
No, it was already reconstituted.
Okay, interesting.
But so anyway, we'll get back to that. But anyway, I had all this EPO sitting in my, well, I wasn't. It was like 4 or 5 vials, I think. So I had it sitting in my refrigerator. I'm looking at the date, and it was going to expire in May, I think. And I'm thinking, man, I'm not using it. I can't let this shit go to waste because it's so ungodly expensive, or at least that's what they were charging my insurance company, So I actually emailed Palumbo, and I asked him, because he what the fuck, runs or bikes or whatever the hell he does. So I said, Dave, I got this EPO, and it's going to go bad. You want it? And he was being a big pussy, and he's like, nah, I don't want it, or whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what guy do I know of would take expired EPO from a complete stranger and shoot it? So he's the guy that came to mind. So I hit him up, and I'm like, yo, I got this EPO. It's real, but it's gonna expire, or it has expired already. Do you want it? And he's like, yeah, of course, send that shit. I'll shoot it. So that's how I met him.
He cold shipped it for me too, and I shot that shit immediately.
Yeah, I did. I packed it in. I got ice packs and packed it in what do you call it? Styrofoam, so it stayed cold.
Cold when it got here.
Since people are going to watch this and not know, EPO is really powerful for its anabolic effects. I want to do an episode on Palumbo's show about EPO, but I just want people who are going to hear this and then think down below that, oh, EPO doesn't work because later people have confirmed it doesn't work. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just that it thickens your blood so much that eventually it becomes dangerous for the amount of anabolic effects you get.
But somebody like me who's anemic, it actually will help.
Yeah, you're actually anemic, which by the way is very suspicious also. Did you ever find out why you're anemic?
Yeah, because my kidneys.
Oh.
I was never anemic until I went into kidney failure.
No, but you were anemic. You told me you were anemic a year ago.
No. So I was always on the cuff, but I was like at 14, 15, always on the cuff. They call it borderline anemia, where you're still in range, but you're at the bottom. Borderline anemia, but I was still in range. Always, even on heavy amounts of EQ. And then when my kidneys failed, I dropped way below. They wouldn't even take my blood. They said it was too dangerous.
Wow.
They take your hemoglobin before.
So how did you end up asking?
That was before I knew I was in kidney failure. Like when I went to go donate blood, I thought, oh, let me get some of this toxic metals out of my blood. They were like, sir, your hemoglobin so-and-so, I forgot what it was, a 10 or 11. They were like, you can't donate blood. They were like, you would pass out. They said, you're anemic. You have to. So I started supplementing with iron and EPO.
Oh, interesting. Iron is.
Dude, mine was down at 7.
Oh, wow.
7. That was the worst. I think normal is what for a man is like 13 to 16. Yeah, mine was at 7 at one point.
How much did the EPO bring you up?
What's that?
How much did the EPO bring you up?
Honestly, when they first started giving it to me, it worked for a while, and it would bring it up maybe, I don't know, maybe a point a week, sometimes at best. But then at one point it stopped working. Dude, they were shooting me with probably 20, 30,000 units a week, and it was doing literally nothing
Are you
whatsoever.
still anemic?
Now, probably on the lower side of normal. I haven't had labs done in a while, but.
So what's your story, Dave, with your kidneys?
Well, what started out with me is, this is going back. I think I was originally diagnosed in maybe around 2012 or so, give or take. But years before that, I started noticing that I was losing weight for no reason. I mean, I wasn't working out or anything at the time, not just eating a normal diet. And I just started noticing like I'm losing weight. But at first it wasn't like bad weight. It was just, I was getting leaner. So I'm like, I'm not complaining. Like, what the fuck, right? I'm sorry, man. I keep cursing. I got to fill.
No, don't worry. I don't care. I care about I care that the other videos get more views, but I don't care about the monetization. Don't worry about it.
All right. So anyway,
relax, be yourself.
So I started noticing that I was losing weight, and at first it wasn't bad weight. It was I was just getting leaner, and I'm thinking to myself, now you're getting older. You shouldn't, your metabolism shouldn't be speeding up. It should be slowing down, if anything, right? So, you know, just like anything, you never want to go to the doctors. You want to convince yourself that there's nothing wrong with you and whatnot. So that progressed for a while. I started getting really thin, and then I started noticing like weird things would happen. I would wake up in the morning and my hands were really swollen, or one arm would be swollen. And then, you know, I tried to justify and write that off and be like, you know, I'm an idiot. I sleep on the couch and there's a coffee table there or something. I figure your hands laying down and whatever, a weird position is swelling. So I think probably it was one day I was at work at the time and I noticed like my left leg was like feeling really weird. So I pulled the pants up, and dude, it was like swollen up like twice the size of the right. You know, so things like that. And then it got to the point where, and I can still remember it, I was outside cutting the grass one day in the summer, and the girl I was dating at the time, she come over to visit, and she's like, what the hell's wrong with your feet? And I looked down and I didn't even realize it. And dude, they were swollen up like, Boston will know this guy. I don't know his name, but it was a picture that was floating around about.
Oh, the guy sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know who it is, Leo. I sent you the guy. The guy that's wife is has millions of followers on Luyan.
Oh yeah, you showed me. Yeah. You were like that?
Literally like that, man. I mean, it was so bad that, I mean, it was pitting edema to the point that you could just push your skin in an inch and it would stay like that. It was disgusting. Now mine wasn't as bad as him. Like it was more from like the knee down. Like he had really bad edema. It seemed like all the way up to pretty much his waist almost, I would think, if I remember the picture. But you know, that's how they were. And I looked down, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then I think shortly after that, I started noticing that just out of nowhere, you know, I was pissing blood. I didn't know it was blood at the time. It was like iced tea. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? So,
yeah,
I went to my family doctor or whatever, and he, I think he did some tests, and then he referred me to a nephrologist near me. So, you know, he did the whole initial battery, you know, your renal labs, your GFR, microcreatinine, albumin, I think they call it. They do a urinalysis and a few other things to get all that baseline stuff. And they came back all out of whack. I want to say my creatinine at that point in time was 2.2 maybe. It wasn't like ridiculously high, but it was way higher than normal.
Do you remember what
GFR was? What's that?
You remember what the GRF was?
The GFR was,
calculation.
if I'm not mistaken, I want to say around 20.
Oh, okay.
But the GFR is just a calculation. I think it's your creatinine times something divided by something. So
it's just your age. It's to make it, because everyone's creatinine worsens as they age, so they want to make you age adjusted.
Yeah, so they adjusted for
totally
whatever. So
useless,
like when they diagnose you for CKD, that just goes by your GFR, whatever stage that you're in, you know. So if you're
because everyone's getting chronic kidney disease as they age to some degree. Yeah, that's
Well, because when I got my kidneys tested the first time in late February of 2020, my creatinine was at 2.0, and then my GRF was like 43, which is basically stage 3 kidney failure. And I didn't take it serious. I said, 2.0 is not bad, but my GRF was way lower.
Because of your age, you were very young.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you were like a 35-year-old, that would have been more tolerable. Like mine is in the high ones, I think now, and it's like normal or better than average for my age group.
I talked to a guy that coaches a bunch of big bodybuilders, and he says he never sees really good creatinine numbers on big bodybuilders.
Well, because they don't use Cystatin C. So the creatinine is being really fuddled with the fact that you have so much protein in your body and you're constantly damaging your muscle. They should be using Cystatin C more. I noticed there are some that are using it now. Apparently, I didn't introduce it to bodybuilding. Vigorous Steve tells me it was someone else, so they're using it before. But Cystatin C is what people should look at. So Dave, you were telling us you're already in an early stage of kidney failure.
So they diagnosed me with stage 3 CKD, which is, GFR between maybe 20 to 40 or something like that. Now they say as a rule of thumb, if your GFR drops below 60 for 3 consecutive months, then it indicates a problem. But people our age, at least, that have good functioning kidneys, it should be at least 90. So, you know,
Just
like
for
these,
people to know, I've been on cycles where my GFR was 60. I'm sure that's happened to you as well, Boston.
The lowest I ever saw was 43, which is terrible.
Yeah. I've been on one that was
until recently.
60 and temporarily. It's happened. But
You're up back to 90 now, or what?
no, it's above. It's better than 90.
Oh wow! So you got all the way down to 60.
No, it was just short for short time periods. And I've also urinated, just for the audience to understand, when he says urinated blood, you don't mean you were seeing blood. You meant you were urinating such a dark, weird color. There's actually dried blood inside you. And that's happened to me before also. And when I was in my early 20s in Dubai, when I had proper gear and I was using proper gear for a large enough amount, the Trenbolone and Hex, I was using a lot of that, and the urine got also dark like that for a very short time period. 1 week I saw it. I was like, what the hell? Or maybe even a couple of days, and I backed off. But those are things the audience should know. Anyway, so you're saying you noticed that, and then what happened?
Well, I noticed that
you got diagnosed.
It was passing blood in your, and a lot of protein too. I didn't understand that at the time, but I'm pissing in the toilet, and it's like you dumped dishwashing liquid in there or something. Like, it was so foamy. It was terrible. I'm like, I didn't know what was going on at the time. You know, now in retrospect, I realize it was proteinuria. But so anyway, what happened was, they did a bunch of tests, and if I remember correctly, my nephrologist said one of the leading causes of CKD is Hep C. Mm-hmm. So they tested me for Hep C, and now at this point, let me backtrack a little. Before that, they sent me for ultrasounds, EKG, the battery of everything to check everything, and they found nothing. Mm-hmm. So I was getting frustrated. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So he says to me, we're going to test you for Hep C, because that's a common cause of kidney disease. So he got the results back. I can remember he calls me and he says, well, I got good news and bad news. We found something. The good news is we found something. The bad news is you have Hep C. I said, okay. Well, that sucks. But at the time, they had just come out with that drug that can cure it. Right? Yeah, so I figured, all right, well, they can cure it. Thank God they found something. Yeah. All right, it sucks, but it is what it is. So I think like a day later, my doctor called me back and he says, well, you don't have Hep C. He says, I don't know exactly what kind of test they did. You might know this or something, but he said, we did some kind of reverse RNA, something, whatever the hell. And he says, you came up as supposedly showing some antibodies for it, but it's not actually a positive result. So he explained it to me as you were probably exposed to it at one point in time and your body was able to fight it off. I was reading something today about it briefly, and they said about I want to say around 25% of people that contract it, your immune system, fights it off, and they never know they have it, but it leaves some antibodies that can come up on a test.
Yeah. Now the weird thing is alive on surfaces for a long time, for like a week. And in California, we have a ton of people who have Hep C because of drug use, mostly, actually.
I want to get tested for that.
Did you get tested for it?
No, I want to.
Oh yeah, that could have been causing your nausea and hunger problems also.
Yeah, because I told Dave, I said I looked at the side effects and it's everything I have. The only thing is, like, I reuse my needles, but I don't share with other people.
No, yeah, it comes from unless you've known some people that use heroin, you probably don't know people that have it. But a lot of heroin addicts have it usually.
So I can't use it from reusing my own needle.
No, you have to have someone that carries the virus around you, but they could carry it by their hands, which many people don't know. It stays alive. It's not like HIV. Anyway, so it ended up being that your immune system was attacking your kidneys.
So yeah, they, now just to continue with the Hep C thing a little further, they tested me like 3 more times and it came back negative every time. So I can't explain that whole initial thing. It doesn't make any sense to me that you would come up positive once for some sort of antibodies and then 3 more times not. So after that, I think initially the drugs they put me on 60 mgs of prednisone a day. An antibiotic, I want to say it was Bactrim.
because just for people to understand, why did they use steroids for to reduce the activity of the immune system? Is because the glucocorticoids, their function actually is a negative feedback signal to the immune system. So anyway, just for people to know, prednisone was one of them.
Yeah, as you said,
And-
most people, I think, watching this know that, you know, corticosteroid and anabolic steroid are completely different
Yeah,
things. You know, they do the opposite of each other. So,
but the concern with using prednisone for a long time, just for people to understand, like it's controlling your immune system, which is wonderful also, but it's acting like one of those glucocorticosteroids, which are stressful or harmful in the body and activate like a sympathetic nervous drive. So they can also cause cellular harm and stuff like that in the long term, which, by the way, is why a good reason if someone is like concerned about their C-reactive protein to use immunomodulatory things like moringa or broccoli sprouts or EPA, as I constantly tell Boston. But we were having this conversation earlier today about inflammation. Anyway, we'll continue. So they gave you prednisone. What else?
So they gave me prednisone, an antibiotic. I want to say it was Bactrim. And I don't think they started the BP meds yet. Maybe something else. And I can't really think. For the life of me, it escapes me at the moment.
Did you have high blood pressure at the time?
I don't think it was really high at first. So I don't think they put me on any BP meds. I believe it was prednisone and just that antibiotic to start. But what I want to say about that is they had me on 60 milligrams. Supposedly the highest dose that's safe to give a human is 80. Now, after I was on it for maybe a couple weeks, maybe even a week, I mean, the blood in the urine was completely gone. I mean, it worked fast, and it took a lot of the swelling and the edema down. But after being on it for a while, dude, that's a horrible drug, man. Like you get they call it moon face. Like your face looks like a moon. It looks like somebody hit you in the face with a frying pan. I mean, you become almost unrecognizable.
Is that why could some dialysis patients have that kind of face? I thought it was poor circulation. Oh, interesting.
It's possible, but dude, it was literally like, I mean, it looked like your whole face was swollen, that you had some kind of allergic reaction or something. And
well, Boston's been on this for a while then.
Fuck that. Oh, dude, Dave's been trying to get me to take that shit, but I haven't had the courage to do it because, hey, I'll be honest. I know 2 people that are on that shit at a decently low dose for kidney shit, and they look like fucking New Year's blimps.
Oh, really? So that really does happen.
Dude, I still take 5 mg a day. I have no side effects.
I know a guy that diets on low carbohydrates, and he's on like 20 or 30 mgs of prednisone, and he fucking looks so fat. But then when he gets off of it, because he's only on it for like certain periods of time, then when he gets off, he like loses like 30 pounds of fluid. So I think it's a lot of fluid. Interesting.
So they got you on that, and then eventually they put you on blood pressure medications when your blood
pressure medications and immunosuppressant. But before that, let me just say too, the side effects you get from that prednisone, I had it makes you deposit fat in these weird places. Like I had fat up here on my upper back and like around like weird.
Putting it in my food. I'm getting this also.
Dude, it was terrible. It was like you looked like a hunchback or something, and then you start growing like body hair and stuff all over. And legit, I don't know what it's called. There's a name for it. But after I got off that really high dose and I think he maybe put me down to 20 mgs or something, you know, all this stuff did go away.
It's good you're preparing Boston for his experience.
Well, hopefully it doesn't get to that point with him by the grace of God.
I got that other stuff coming in, the Pentoxifylline.
Is that an antibiotic?
That's the anti-inflammation. The Pentox, I told you about that.
It was a glucocorticosteroid also?
No, Dave knows what it is. You know what I'm talking about, right, Dave? The Pentox.
I have a phone right here.
Yeah, you know what? I can't think of it at the moment, but I know what you're talking about. I think we looked it up the one night.
Here, I could give you the spelling for it, Leo.
No, I found it. I just want to see how it works.
Pentoxifylline.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, I did look at this one. Yeah.
That's the one that Bo Basden swears by, and he says that he was diagnosed with kidney failure in 2004, and he didn't need to get on dialysis until 2017. He was able to fight it off that long.
We got to get Bo on next.
Yeah, no, he is. He's going to come on.
Oh, definitely. Okay, great. So yeah, that was some. So, but you didn't tell us. So because sometimes when their kidneys deteriorate, their blood pressure also deteriorates because of that. So was this over a period of years? You got high blood pressure and they moved you on to that, and eventually basically realized you were in a hyperinflammatory state that was attacking your kidneys?
I don't know exactly how he came to the conclusion that he wanted. I think it was like a trial and error kind of thing. You know, the prednisone got a handle on everything, and then it was basically, there was a drug that we tried. I want to say they give it to chemo patients, and it starts with a C, and I just can't think of it at the Cytoxin. Maybe
I don't know if that's the name of a drug, but that would make sense.
It's something like that.
Yeah, location.
But anyway, I wasn't tolerating that good, so he switched me to something that's called Cellcept. It's mycophenolate.
I don't know.
It's an immunosuppressant. I mean, they're all basically the same. They all suppress the immune system. So he put me on that, and then that seemed to make a difference. But it was a gradual difference. It was over years. You know, I started noticing, you know, less edema, less protein in the urine, this and that. But there was a lot of other things happening at the time. I mean, I became very anemic, and I used to, before I could get them to send me that EPO in the mail, I used to actually have to go to the hospital down by me just to get a shot of it once a week. Now they would every 2 weeks they would do labs, you know, see what your hemoglobin was at. Then they would titrate the dosage according to what, you know, the lab results came back as. So I'd have to go down there every week, and then every other week get blood drawn. And then, you know, they were giving me IV iron too, because the iron was low. So, you know, I was down there a lot. Then finally I started reading up on it a little bit. I found that, you know, people were getting the EPO sent to them and giving it to them, administering it themselves. So I ran it past my doctor. He was cool with it. And then luckily I was able to get it sent to me and didn't have to, you know, go through that and all that nonsense anymore. But, you know, at the same time, you know, when the link I sent Bostin the other day about Hep C, a lot of those symptoms, basically all of them on there, I'm reading them and I'm like, man, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. You know, they talk about vascular problems and stuff. And I swear I still have Hep C and they just can't find it, or some kind of weird variant of it or some kind of shit. Because the symptoms, I mean, they're like, I had vascular problems to the point that, you know, could it be from that, from the immunosuppressant? I want to say that Flex Wheeler was on the same thing. And he, you know, obviously, you know, he lost his leg because he had some kind of issue with his, a vascular issue in his leg. I had something, now this is before I even got diagnosed or you know, realized there was a problem. But on my left ankle, on the inside of it, I noticed there was a discolored spot on there. And I had that for years, and I never really thought much of it. So at one point in time, I don't know if I cut myself there or it just seemed to open up, but I developed a little, you know, like a little cut there, and it just wouldn't heal. And wouldn't heal, would scab over, but it would never heal. And, you know, I scratched it off the one day, and I'm like, cleaning it. I'm like, what, dude, it was like a half an inch deep, and it just wouldn't heal. So I ended up packing it with Neosporin or something and covered it. And I did get it to heal. So when this,
not like you're a diabetic, by the way.
What's that?
Are you diabetic?
No, actually my blood sugars are pretty good, to be honest.
Really? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. One thing I got going for me. So,
because all of these things could have happened from diabetes also. Everything all the vascular issues you just mentioned, they happen all the time. Like one of the biggest problems that diabetics get are what are called foot ulcers, which are on their lower limbs. They get like a cut that won't heal.
Dude, my mom used to have a business right up by here by me, and she did prosthetics and orthotics, you know, like artificial limbs and bracing and stuff like that. And she, you know, I worked for her for one point in time, and the majority of her patients were diabetics because, you know, the sugar builds up in your extremities. You lose feeling to them. You lose circulation. They cut their foot or something. They don't realize it's cut. And then it just, you know, it gets infected. It gets gangrenous or whatever, or septic. And, you know, they end up losing their leg, losing their foot, their toes, whatever. So it's a really horrible disease. But thank God, my sugars have always been pretty good. But anyway, during this time when when this had flared up and come to light and being treated for and stuff, that part on my leg, I noticed a lot of discoloration around the foot and on the inner ankle on the left. And it's usually on the left. People that have kidney issues and edema, it seems to always be the left leg that's worse than the right. And like I told you the one day at work, my leg was feeling weird. It happened to be my left leg. I pulled my pants up and it was twice the size of the right. Now I asked my nephrologist today, I was chatting with him because I knew we were doing this tonight. And I said, why? What's the reason behind, because he even told me that. He's like, the majority of times people have more problems with their left side than their right. And I said, well, why? What's the reason for it? And he said, because of the way the blood travels from your heart, that it's a further distance. Your left, the bottom of your left leg,
interesting. It's more extreme.
Is a further distance away from your heart somehow than your right.
That makes sense. Yeah, interesting.
So anyway, I had a problem with, that opened up again, and it just wouldn't heal. It wouldn't heal, and it got bigger. And dude, it got to the point I was going to wound care down in the basement of the hospital. I'm sitting there with all these elderly people and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here, man? Like, how did my life get to this, right? Mm-hmm. So, I went to see a vascular surgeon, and he wanted to do something. He wanted to put me in this. It's like a temporary cast or something to like immobilize or take the pressure off it. Because basically, what they diagnosed it as, it's called venous insufficiency. So basically,
I've read that before. I didn't know what it was.
All right, so your veins aren't just like hollow tubes. You actually have little valves in them, right? Like little check valves. Yeah. And every time the heart beats, they open.
Yeah.
And then they're supposed to close again. But when you have venous insufficiency, they don't close all the way. And the gravity pulls the blood back down into your extremities. And when you have too much swelling and pressure there, it puts pressure on the skin, just like if it was, like a bed sore or something. Like if somebody's in the hospital and they're in a coma, they have to flip them every so many hours and stuff, so they don't develop bed sores. It's basically the same thing. It's pressure that's put on the skin, and it causes it to, form an ulcer. They call it a vascular ulcer. So he wanted to do this ridiculous, this temporary cast. I can't think of the name of it. It's a common thing that they do. And my issue with him was, I'm like, well, what's the point in doing this? I mean, I'm already wearing compression socks and this and that. I said, I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. If you're not going to treat the underlying cause, then, what's the point in doing that, right? You have to figure out what's wrong to fix it, not put a Band-Aid on and putting this cast on or whatever. So he tried doing something with some of the veins in the left leg with, I want to say it's some kind of solution that they inject to collapse like varicose veins. So he did that, but it was like some superficial veins around the outside of the skin. It didn't really work. So he said the next thing we could do is, they call it radiofrequency ablation. What they do is there's two veins in your that run from your groin all the way down to like your lower leg. They're called the saphenous veins, and they're usually the most problematic for people that have venous insufficiency. So what they do is they take this machine and it threads like a super fine filament of wire up into the vein, and then they put it up as far as you could go, like right near your groin. And what it does is the end of it heats up like really hot enough to cauterize the vein. And then they slowly withdraw it. And as they withdraw it out of the vein, it seals the vein shut. So he did that. I had to about hold him at gunpoint to get him to do it because he didn't want to do it for whatever reason. I got him to do it, and it healed, surprisingly. Like a month later, it healed.
Fascinating. You just did that surgery?
No, this is years ago.
Oh, and now it healed?
Oh, it healed relatively quickly afterwards. I mean, it was probably a month and it healed.
Incredible. So just for the audience to know, there's this growth factor called vascular endothelial growth factor, VEGF. Usually people want to turn this growth factor off for people that have like age-related macular degeneration, which means eye disease. There's a certain percentage of people with that kind of eye disease that they have too much VEGF. But VEGF is upregulated by erythropoietin. And it's pretty interesting. That's one of the things that's upregulated by TB500 and BP157, and it's what grows new blood vessels in our body. I wonder if you had some kind of deficiency of growth factors in general, because that's something we should mention to the audience. So why do I personally like ARBs more than ACE inhibitors for myself, given I don't have kidney disease, but I have hypertension? The reason why is that the angiotensin 2, which is what ACE inhibitors block, they block the conversion of that. That actually agonizes one receptor, which ARBs don't block, AT1, and that receptor is pro-growth. And I think that that's why ARBs are slightly associated with more cancer than ACE inhibitors. But for the sake of kidneys, I want personally, with just hypertension, without kidney disease, I want more growth factors slightly in my body. I think that some of them are protective, like VEGF. So the destruction of the kidneys, blood vessels are one of the process in chronic kidney disease. So yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I agree with you 100% on the ARB versus an ACE inhibitor. Like right now, I'm taking like 5 mg of lisinopril, but I'm going to talk to my doctor and have him switch me to one of those that you recommended, because I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's, you know, just like taking Arimidex versus Nolvadex instead of crushing, crushing production of
going
estrogen.
More specific to what you're targeting.
Block it instead, because, you know, it has protective effects for the brain, the prostate, you know, all this other stuff. So why crush it when you could just block the receptor? So I agree with you. I think you're better off with an ARB. You said
it way better than I could have said it myself. Exactly. And instead of like crushing your estrogen, just modulate that receptor, you know, it's just like that. But this is different. So we got one comment on the last video where someone was trying to correct you, Bostin, for using an ACE inhibitor and an ARB, which you're doing not under the advice of a doctor or under either of our advices. But the reason why some people use that, just for the audience to know, if you look into the literature enough, somebody cited one paper from 2008 or 9. You have to look at a lot of papers. None of us are nephrologists. So what we try to get an understanding of is not just what the research says, but what does practice say? What do the practitioners do that they notice works the best, even outside of lab studies? So it's interesting to note that some specialists in chronic kidney disease, CKD, prefer splitting the use of an ARB with an ACE inhibitor. There's no scientific reasoning why, and you could think there would be reasons why it would be worse, because just as we said, there are the growth factors with ARBs, but who knows? So that's why there's.
And then some nephrologists actually are highly against any ACE inhibitors while somebody's in kidney failure, because they say it actually can raise potassium levels and be more damaging.
Yes, exactly.
ARBs are more kidney protective.
I mean, that's what I would think from the scientific experimental research personally. But as I said, there's these top nephrologists that combine both.
It seems like with people that have super high blood pressure, they'll do like an ARB or an ACE, either or, and then they'll do a calcium channel blocker and then a beta blocker, all three of them.
It depends on what people respond to, but I think that the most educated MD at the moment should begin either with an ACE inhibitor or an ARB, unless the person's anxiety is purely sympathetic nervous driven. Like, for example, not anxiety, but blood pressure, but it can also happen for anxiety. So for example, some people will notice they wake up in the mornings with anxiety. If that happens, okay, so we were talking about this earlier today. So if that happens to you, see how honest Bostin is? I wasn't even going to mention him.
It's only happened since I stopped. Okay, but by the way, my hands and my feet are no longer cold, so it was the beta blocker. Yeah. But it actually took like 5 days for that to go away. So it actually did take some time. But ever since I stopped the beta blockers, I'm waking up with terrible anxiety. If I try to eat, I'll get nauseous. But I didn't get that with the Atenol. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking of adding the Atenol back tonight. And if I still wake up in the morning with anxiety, I'll know that it's the steroids, and I'll just have to go down to TRT, right?
Okay, so you mentioned a bunch of things there. So it's not just that the steroids. I mean, it may be. You mentioned on Dave's podcast what you were taking, which is a load like a gram or something, right? In total.
Fact, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it may not just be that. It just may that. I mean, that increases. So there's two nervous systems. One is the fight or flight, and one is the feed and breathe, relax one. Whenever you turn on the fight or flight one, everything in your body works faster. Your metabolism works faster. And for some people, their brain is wired in a certain way that when that's turned on, it causes anxiety. you can turn off the anxiety by turning that off or by doing other things to affect the anxiety also. But the concern is this: if you're on that nervous state, then your kidneys will burn quicker. So you don't really want to be in that state all the time. So that's why Dave was really trying to recommend to you very early on to check your C-reactive protein. Because if somebody's really in that sympathetic nervous-driven state and their body is inflamed because of it, causing their kidneys to be inflamed, usually their C-reactive protein will be raised. You know what I mean? So what I think you need to figure out, are you in an inflammatory state? Because if you are, there's the kidneys also. But the anxiety you can cure with other things.
Well, if I add the antinol back in and I still get anxiety, I'll know that it's the steroids, and then I'll just have to back down, that I'm having an inflammatory response.
That's I guess sort of true. But it's also a little bit more complicated.
Because I started the steroids 3 weeks ago, and in the beginning of the steroid cycle, I was on the antinol and I had no issues. I had no appetite, but I wasn't nauseous and I wasn't anxious. Now in the morning, since the antinol, my hands and feet are warm, or back to normal, it's like I can't do shit for the beginning of the day because I'm just like, dude, my heart and shit.
I've been on beta blockers for I think 5 years now in the mornings. Sometimes I stop for like 6 months sometimes, but it makes you fatter. But it does all that. It slows the metabolism.
Fat, but what I'm hoping is with a really strict nutrition, I can get it down and keep it down.
So Dave, tell the audience what your first thoughts were when you heard about the creatinine level. We started texting with each other, and you were telling me you thought he was in an acute hyperinflammatory state.
Yeah, let's be clear. That was Palumbo that said he should get the C-reactive protein test done. I told him just shotgun prednisone at it, but he didn't.
No. I told him that. Yeah, and then nobody told him. Yeah, I guess no. Let's not give up. Okay. Yeah.
All right, I didn't. I thought it was Dave. I didn't know it was you. Anyway,
no, it's either you or me. Yeah.
I told him just shotgun prednisone at him, man. I mean, I didn't think it was going to hurt him. So, yeah, I mean that's pretty high considering for me the worst mine was I think was like 2.2, and I mean I had horrible edema. He has no edema.
But you said your bun was way higher.
My bun, I want to say, was around like 90. Okay. I think that's pretty high.
Your bun was higher than mine.
Yeah, it was.
So the armchair nephrologist, this is what the podcast is. None of us know exactly what we're talking about, but we're talking about it anyway. Anyway, so Dave, thank you for telling us your story. Bostin, so are there any updates since you did the Dave show? You're on the same thing?
Yeah, so
just taking out the atenolol?
The only thing different is I got off the antinolol, but I'm going to add it back tonight because I think beta blockers work pretty fast, right? By the way, on the antinolol, I couldn't get my heart rate over 102.
Wow.
On the treadmill, now my heart rate's already back up to 135 to 140 on cardio.
Yeah, that's what it slows your heart rate down.
Big time. So, I mean, I think I could get the fat off and maintain, but I mean, dude, if it fixes my anxiety, I'll stay on it.
There's other ways. Like, for example, if you take a milliliter of cerebral lysine, which I mention often on the podcast, and we should find a better source, but cosmicnootropic.com has it. Those are growth factors for the brain. When your brain is in a pro-growth state, unless you're in a hyper-inflammatory state, it's just like having those growth factors for your kidney. They're slightly protective to neurons. I doubt it's possible to get anxiety on 1 milliliter injected intramuscularly once every day at night. I don't even know if it's possible. So you can cure the anxiety pretty easily in that way, or you could check your C-reactive protein, change your diet, introduce some things that will modify your inflammatory system, or you could lower the adrenaline. You could go 3 ways.
Like I said, man, if that antinol doesn't work, I'm just going to get off beta blocker.
There's more than adrenaline also. There's more things you could do also.
I read that the best beta blockers for anxiety is antinol and propranolol, the one that you like, propranolol.
So atenolol must be one of the worst. It doesn't get into the blood-brain barrier. Propranolol does, metoprolol does.
The ones that I saw prescribed for anxiety were antinol and propranolol. That's what I was reading.
Maybe they make mistakes. I was also once prescribed atenolol for anxiety, but propranolol is way more effective.
Well, the antinol, I'll tell you what, the antinol definitely worked. But I mean, we'll know when I add it back. I'll let you know if I'm still fucking in a day or so. If I'm still nausea, I'll get off of that and I'll just go down to TRT because I'll know it's the drugs doing it.
So someone, Rory Flynn asked, but we have so many questions for you. It's going to become like the real non-fraudulent podcast. So you've recounted stories of going into your office and making concoctions of exotic compounds to try for the day or pre-workout. If you had to design your own, what would be the best mix of compounds just for one workout that week or every blue moon?
You know, I use this oral premix, but I would like an injectable. I'd like this to be made, and I would use it. Injectable Halo, methyltren, and injectable D-ball all in one.
I have never tried methyltren. It's really horrible that I never tried it.
So toxic.
Yeah, Halo is crazy toxic.
Yeah, I had an injectable Halo made actually once. It kept crashing, so I had to microwave it. It was injectable Halo and trend based. That was pretty nuts. But the pain on that one sucked, and you had to heat it up every time.
I've never tried trend base either, actually.
Oh,
Makes me think I don't really know trenbolone.
The cough kicks you in the throat, man, and it's fast. It's weird. It's not like Trend Ace. Your cough lasts for a bit.
Yeah.
The Trend suspension will hit you so quick, but it hurts, man.
But how long does it last? How do you compare it to testosterone suspension, TNE?
Well, no, I'm saying the side effect of the coughing just would.
Yeah, but how long does the feeling last? Like testosterone suspension does last you like 3 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So you would like that in oral form, Halo and what was
Halo, methyltren, and injectable D-ball.
But not D-ball. Anadrol would be better.
I like injectable D-ball better.
I've never tried injectable either of them actually.
Oh, okay.
By the way, that would be much. I wonder if the effects are similar.
Dave loves injectable D-ball, and I love it with my clients. My clients definitely respond better than inject D-ball than inject Anadrol.
Interesting. Okay, so someone asked you, are you taking Astragalus?
Yes, I am.
Sonny Smith asked. And that apparently is due to Dante Trudel, who apparently introduced it to bodybuilding.
Oh, did he do that? Really?
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did. Do I have to give credit where it's due? By the way, so Astragalus, so some of these herbs, how could they help the kidneys? Some things may make the blood vessels temporarily dilate, may make its function a little bit better, but overall, all of them do one of two things. Either they directly reduce oxidative stress by being like vitamin C and scavenging free radicals, or they modulate the immune system to tell the immune system to be less aggressive on the kidneys, like, for example, garlic would do. So all of these things do one or the other or both of them, you know. So reducing your inflammatory state in general is good for your kidneys. So is reducing oxidative stress. How Boston? So Juan Som says, how was Boston eating 400 grams of protein a day? What were his meals like?
Well, I mean, in prep, they actually got to more. It was like close to 500, but I was eating like up to in prep and contest prep. I was eating 7 times a day. I was doing 4 whole meals, 3 shakes. For my whole meals, I was doing 9 ounces of cooked meat at the very time. And then for the shakes, I do 60 grams of protein coming from whey isolate. And then with every single meal, I would add 6 beef liver, Uniliver tablets from Universal. And that's like an added, I want to say 9 grams of protein from the Uniliver. So I would get an extra 9 grams on every meal. That's one of my favorite supplements ever, dude. Is that Uniliver beef tabs? They're like 3 grams of protein for every 2 tabs.
Very underutilized in bodybuilding. Liver. Liver is like the richest source of if you add liver to your chicken, it's better than beef.
You feel good on it too.
So someone asked like a detailed question about blood pressure, switching medications. I don't know if I should answer, but basically, everyone should always try to, I'm not a doctor and this is not medical advice, but how I looked at it is you try to use one medication that controls your vascular structure. So it's either a calcium channel blocker, ACE inhibitor, or ARB, and get to one of those medications there, either to its max dose, or then eventually split the dose up. But you don't need to split it. You need one thing that's reliable that you know you can count on. You know what I mean? This guy was talking about combining a couple of them. So Jordan Solano asked a question that's often asked on this channel, which is, what is your opinion on Ray Peat? Dave, do you know who Ray Peat is? Okay, Ray Peat, I know Boston doesn't know. And his opinion on omega-3 fish oil. So basically, Ray Peat popularized. So in diet and nutrition, how you become famous is by being contrarian. So it's not so much by being extreme, actually. So Ray Peat, who is a guy who's living in his 90s, which means he's very successful personally, either due to luck or know-how, popularized this idea that polyunsaturated fats are very dangerous. Now, the amount that someone consumes in fish oil, even if Boston listened to me and was taking like 15 grams of EPA or whatever, even 15 grams of EPA is very little fat in general in your body. Think about how much fat people consume. So the fear mongering that this guy caused about fish oil, maybe even if it was true, it doesn't belong on fish oil, because fish oil we use like a drug. It modulates the immune system and has been shown in control studies like the Reduce It trial to reduce mortality from heart disease by over 20%, right? So those are very valuable tools medicinally. But his issue about polyunsaturated fats and whether they can be oxidized more in the body than saturated fats, that's true. But if you give saturated fats to most animals, you'll find they die much younger. They have neurotoxicity. Saturated fats some of them have been shown to be neurotoxic, whereas polyunsaturated fats are not. So there's a lot of argument about that. Sorry, guys, to bore you with this, but it's asked so often on the channel. So anyway, my point being basically, even if Ray Pete was right, that doesn't have anything to do with the amount of EPA and DHA you eat, which is so little compared to your overall diet. Boston, what are your thoughts on the Yeti 97 asked you? By the way, Dave, did you used to work out also?
What's that?
Did you used to work out also? Were you a
I work out still a little bit recreationally. I mean, I'm not. I was probably. I mean, going back 20 years ago, I was really into it. I used to bounce at a club and stuff, and you know, we'd be at the gym all the time working out. I mean, the most I was ever up to, I'm like 5'11", maybe a little over 200. I can never really I just don't want to put on muscle for whatever bit. And I'm lazy now too, man. I want to work out for a half hour a day and that's it. I don't want to lift fucking weights. Who wants to lift weights? I don't want to lift fucking weights.
Are you allowed to lift weights in Pennsylvania? I mean, do the gyms open?
I have stuff at home, but
okay.
Our gyms are.
By the way, Boston, I checked. Every gym here is closed.
Well, that's ridiculous. Leo, do you still weight train?
No, I don't do anything now, and I'm actually just getting fat. Actually, recently since the.
Do you have a stomach on you or no?
No, but it's starting. I have to stop now. I was like taking it easy, sort of, because I had to stop doing all my fasts because I didn't want to affect my genes when I had a child. So it's been like 6 months where I've stopped a lot of the things I used to do, and now it's taking a bit of inertia to get started again.
How much beta blockers are you on?
40 milligrams propranolol.
When?
In the daytime when I wake up.
So just once a day.
Yeah, just to blunt that. Because, what I didn't explain before. So that nervous drive, the fight or flight thing, is what wakes you up from sleep. So cortisol and adrenaline start rising 2 to 3 hours before you sleep. And they peak. If you're waking up at 8 a.m., they would peak around, or if you're waking up at 7 a.m., they would peak around 10:30 or 11. So what I do is I try to blunt that peak in the morning. I'm not trying to keep my blood pressure low or anything like that. So why you would feel this in the morning, if it is happening, is because those hormones are maxed out in the morning.
It has to be, because later in the day I don't feel like that. Which
would also fit Dave's theory of how you may have had acute kidney stress because your body could have been in shock and you may be suffering from that.
That's why I'm worried that I'm still fucking with my kidneys. So that's what I'm saying. If I can't get rid of that, I'm just gonna have to come off.
Well, your blood pressure isn't even normalized until you've done that. Until it's 120/80, you're not doing anything.
I've tried like 4 blood pressure meds and it doesn't drop under that reading I told you about. I've tried everything.
No, but you've never taken azosartan at the max dose.
I haven't tried those. No.
Azosartan, you never ordered it.
Valsartan coming in. I'm gonna do the valsartan and ramipril combination and see if that'll do it.
It's highly doubtful that won't work. Boston, did you learn anything from Tony Huge or Coach Trevor? Do you believe in their protocols and why? This is from Big West.
Yeah, like Tony's like a harmless guy, and he's always been super nice to me. He came out here all the way to Florida to do videos with me and stuff like that. We've shot, even though I had to end it a couple days early because I don't like to be on camera as much as him. But yeah, no, they did a documentary recently on National Geographic. I don't know if you heard about it.
No.
But anyways, it got a lot of heat. A lot of bodybuilders were. I mean.
Oh yeah.
It was for dramatization. He does a lot of things for entertainment purposes, and it's kind of like Rich Piana. And sometimes it's not good because kids think like, oh my god, like I'm gonna do like all this gear and get. He does stupid claims like put on 14 pounds of muscle in a week and stuff. And like I don't like that. That's like misleading because we all know nobody in the world, no matter how good your genetics are, could put on 14 pounds of muscle. It's just all water,
Yeah, it just depends what you define muscle as.
For entertainment purposes. So I think I think if you could differentiate when kids could say, okay, this is for entertainment purposes. It's like a movie and you can entertain it for what it is. Okay, fine. But if you're actually taking the stuff literal, I don't like that.
Well, but that's, I guess it's slightly misleading, but
You got to see the National Geographic.
I didn't see
Hey,
it.
did
Yeah.
you see it?
You know what, man? I didn't see it, but I was actually just watching something today, and they were talking about it.
You guys have to go see that fucking video.
Okay, I'll watch it. I didn't see it, but what I've seen, Newton, to be honest, like people like Greg Doucette, who have a way bigger outreach, are lying about what drugs he takes so that he can sell $100 ebooks. That's more of a, or even the guy in California, I don't want to mention his name, with the duck eggs.
You think Greg Doucette has a bigger following than a guy like Tony Hooch, who's on National Geographic, who's getting millions of views everywhere? I mean, he got, I don't know. They're
because he's banned everywhere on like, his Instagram was shadow banned.
Yeah, but most people in the bodybuilding world will know over Tony Hooch way over Doucette for sure.
That's true. I didn't watch the movie.
Who are you talking about with the duck eggs? Mike O'Hearn?
Yeah. But everyone who knows Mike O'Hearn likes him. So I don't, he's apparently like a very nice guy. Scott,
yeah,
I think he's a super nice guy, but he's the biggest liar in the industry. I mean, come on, you don't look you don't look better at 50 naturally than you do at 30.
We all agree he's full of shit.
No, it's the picture he took with Rich Piana that if you search Mike O'Hearn, you find this picture of him looking in the mirror and you can see the growth hormone coming out of his body. It's like, I don't know if you know the picture I'm talking about. So someone's asking, why did you not just get a $60 Landon English asks, why did you not just get a $60 private MD labs test and see if there's any change since October? Well, you already did a lab test, but why were you not ordering more lab tests?
I did that twice, and then my mom wanted me to see a doctor.
Yeah, okay. Thoughts, moderate test and high deca primo cycles, sort of a pseudo golden era stack, but less liver toxic because we aren't Arnold and can't eat D-ball like candy.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I believe your test should always be double your DECA.
Yeah, he says the more plates, more dates theory of higher anabolics and just having enough test for a, I think so. More plates, more dates. A lot of his thinking is about how to protect yourself from the effects of androgens or the conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone. But if you're not concerned with your hair, a lot of that stuff doesn't have to be there. I didn't use DECA myself. I every time I used it, I had a bad experience. I'm very prolactin sensitive.
What kind of side effects?
Just low sex drive, stuff like that, So I didn't like it. But I always loved testosterone more. Testosterone is fun. Testosterone is the funnest steroid, other than Trenbolone, and some orals, maybe Anadrol, right? If you go on 2 grams of testosterone, you feel great starting from nothing.
It's been a while since I felt any drugs, you know what I mean? So it's hard for me to say, but I'll tell you what, man, that if you find like real halo testing, I remember the first time I took real halo, like real fucking halo, dude, I was like, and I'm not an angry person. In the gym, I'd be like barking. Like that shit lights you up.
Did you notice, Danny says, did you notice any symptoms before the vomiting that would have shown kidney issues, like the dark urine, back pain? You did feel the back pain, huh?
I felt back pain recently, like not that recent, but pretty recently. Like, I don't know, like kind of like not a pain though. It's not a pain. It's like you just feel your kidneys. You know what I mean? It's not a pain though.
So someone, New Cold asks, and this is something that I think both Dave and I probably text you about, but he asked, does he worry about not seeing Jackson grow up? Is he okay with a short life now with his family? I want to comment on the second part because it's not necessarily true, but
well, okay. So of course,
does he worry about that? Yeah.
Of course, anyone,
Boston is being
of course, anyone doesn't want to leave early on life and leave their kid, right? You're laughing because I'm peeing, right?
Yeah. He's done this before, but after calls, not.
Yeah, I got it to pee, man. Maybe it's the kidney fucking disease that's making me pee. I'm peeing a fuckload, dude. I don't know why. But anyways, yeah, anyone doesn't want to, die and have their kid be raised by another, obviously if something happened to me, eventually I would want Ariella to find another dad-like figure for Jackson and stuff like that. But yeah, dude, like I'll be honest, the best thing about me not getting health insurance and not seeing a doctor is I was able to diagnose myself with the kidney failure. and I was able to get a life insurance plan that will make sure that they are set for life. If anything was to happen to me. So if anything was to happen to me, he'll be set, she'll be set, and it's a done deal. So I have covered my ass on that.
Dave, so that's very, so that's very, so for the audience to know, I originally, when we first heard about the rise in creatinine, so I've been telling Boston to get on blood pressure medication, obviously, for as long as I've known him, I think about the same time. And I always tell everyone to do that because I was obsessed with it myself. But Boston had a sudden rise in creatinine. And then I was like getting emotional. Whenever I would text him, I'd be like, I'm going to try to text Ariella. I felt like he wasn't telling Ariella. So he needed someone to pressure him. And then, I was like trying to tell him, Jackson, all this kind of stuff, immediately stop and lose all the weight. But, he wouldn't listen to me. So it's good for the audience to be able to ask the question and see how Boston responds. Basically, Boston responds like, they'll be fine. I'm going to take care of them. I'm doing my best. And this is my destiny.
And it's funny, like when, if I would have went to a doctor and been diagnosed with kidney failure, I would have never been able to get a life insurance plan. But because I wasn't diagnosed and I saw it on my own blood work, I immediately, boom, got it.
Yeah, well, that shows your concern for others.
So
but,
it's until I live till I'm 58.
Oh, okay. So you got to live till 58. So you still have work to do.
Yeah. So if I die before 58, they get their set. And if I don't, and if I live past 58, then I get every single penny that I put into the insurance.
Wait, so if you die before 58, they still get the money, your family?
If I die before 58, they get everything.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I was like, wait, you put the target.
If I live past 58, I get every penny that I put into the plan.
Wow, I got to get that insurance plan.
There's no lose. So you either outlive the policy and you get every penny that you spent.
That's amazing.
Which is I'm paying
They're
about
betting against you.
I'm paying about $550 a month.
You must have some interest. There must be an interest rate. They're not giving you it with interest or something like that. But anyway, it's still a good plan.
This is what the company does real quick. They put it into a fund, okay? They make interest off every payment you make. But when they give you it back, they give you every penny back that you put in. So they're still making interest on your money. But I'm not losing a penny, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's very cool, actually. So we were going to talk, I was going to mention one thing about a sentence though. It's not like you have to accept a shortened life, So for example, I smoked cigarettes for 15 years. I'm never going to have the same lungs as someone else, even if they look like they recovered. The cells are damaged. But should I just say, screw it, like I'm going to go eat McDonald's every day until I die because I was smoking for 15 years? I mean, that's a ridiculous way to look at life. The audience doesn't know what genetics you have. Maybe you have a FOXO3A gene that's amazing. Maybe you have other genes that are amazing that can protect you. Not only that, but even if you had kidney failure, that would only mean that you need a kidney replacement and you need to lose the weight and stop using steroids. I mean, that's all that means. That doesn't mean that you're going to die early. That all depends on how you live.
I really don't think my life's going to be cut early.
Now, the thing about Boston, though, that the audience is not on track with is that Boston is thinking, you know what? I could get a little bit more out of these kidneys. I could get the dialysis, and then I could get rid of these kidneys because I don't want to waste anyone's kidney. And then I'm not going to go to South America like Leo advised me, but I'll get it from a family member. Then I'll quit. I'll be old, and it's fine. I did what I wanted to do. No, whereas I'm telling you, go to South America.
I would go to South America in a fucking heartbeat if I knew that they had surgeons that were good and I wouldn't get fucked up.
Well, I wouldn't get the surgery there. I would try.
Have you ever heard of somebody shipping a kidney here? I mean, I don't know.
I'm sure you can ship a kidney. What
are you going to have the doctors in the U.S. use a kidney from Brazil? I doubt it.
I don't think they're going to. Yeah, you'd have to have a little bit of money to get this going. But I'm sure there are a lot of world leaders would have gone to 15 kidneys.
Sometimes when I feel like shit, I'm almost like, man, I wish I just hit dialysis already so I could just get on the transplant list. You know what I mean?
Do you feel the nausea?
Only in the morning with the anxiety if I try to eat, yes. Like if I try to take pills, like when I take my thyroid meds in the morning, that's how I know when I'm feeling like shit and I get the anxiety. The anxiety causes the nausea. It's like insane.
Wow. So it's really a sympathetic drive. Thyroid really mixes in with it. Yeah.
I don't know what it is, man. I when I come off the drugs, the TRT, and I was on the Antinol, I was fine. It's when I got off that Antinol, but I don't know if it's the drugs building up my system and me getting toxic. I don't know.
Yeah. So Someone asked you, did your experiment with Proviron end? Did you ever experiment with Proviron?
Yeah, I've used Proviron.
Yeah,
I think it's best used in the save for prep and higher dosages. I don't think lower doses of Proviron do much.
not physically, but mentally they do.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice little anti-estrogen addition.
I don't know if it really does that much unless you're running such a high dose. Mastron's better.
It helped mine. It helped mine a little bit on like for instance, I like to like when I say Proviron, dude, like I like to taper it up like 50 to 100 to 150 with my clients like the last 6 weeks of prep, but it definitely dries them out.
This is a good question. Eastern Evergreen, who always asks good questions, says, where does Bostin draw the line with health? If he had a brother or son that was going to hop on, which compounds dosages would he feel safe recommending? What would he never recommend? What general advice would he give? Also, preferred injection size and needle size, and then a bunch of other masters. Could he get J master?
Well, that's like a really in-depth question, but I would start him off on a lower dose of testosterone. You know, for first cycle is always 500 mg a test. Make sure everything's in play, but I wouldn't say not to experiment with any drug that's been at least studied on humans, and you know, as long as you're using a dose that is like not excessive, you know what I mean?
So the drug that Bostin mentioned on Dave Palumbo,
like if that's a good question. Like if Jackson grows up and he like sees my stash and when he wants to compete and he wants to get into it, like yeah, like I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine, but I would just make sure he's doing it the right way, you know?
would you go back and would you have him use blood pressure medications from the beginning?
I'd make sure he monitored everything. Yeah, I 100% would. I would make sure he monitored the blood pressure. I'd make sure that he was taking quality. Like I would make sure everything I give him is pharmaceutical grade.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with Ariella, dude. When she was getting ready to compete, I would give her all the good, expensive farm grade stuff, and I would only use the UGL stuff that was iffy. Like I never put anyone's else health in jeopardy.
Game Pitbulls asks how to deal with OCD on cycle. Any recommended meds? Your stance on Zoloft for OCD and anxiety management. Zoloft is a SSRI.
Funny, when I was younger, they gave me Zoloft because they said I needed it. They prescribed it to me, a psychiatrist did, and it made me fucking crazy. And I got off of it immediately. They misdiagnosed me.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't take any of that stuff. In fact, I took a Xanax the other day for my anxiety, and that helped. But that's short-lived. I want something that sustains me.
So cerebral lysine. The thing I mentioned to you, you can inject it. It's a growth factor. It'll remove your anxiety if you do it the way I told you.
Yeah.
Really, it will. I mean, this is like
that might be another option.
This is like a Dan Duchesne moment where something's introduced that will never leave bodybuilding. Really, if people try this, they will never not use it on side, especially pre-contest.
The good thing about the beta blocker, man, is it just keeps me mellow. I like that.
No, I know, but this thing, I'm not saying you necessarily should use it, but people who have like obsessive compulsive disorder, they'll find that anything that really increases neurogenesis, and this thing does it immediately. Everything else takes months, like lithium, SSRIs.
Dave, what's that shit that you're telling me about that you like, kava?
Dude, I think that, you know, I have no real evidence of this, but, you know, we were talking about it when this whole thing flared up. I was taking that kava and for anxiety, because, like, you know, I have the same thing that you do. When we wake up in the morning, you feel like you want to jump out of your skin.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, you know, it's terrible. Sometimes I don't know if that's kidney related or what it is, but you know, kava I think is similar to valerian. It's supposed to be like calming. Yeah. You know, kind of like an herbal. Yeah, it did. It was like kind of like an herbal benzodiazepine, but not quite as strong. But I swear to this day, that's what put the finishing touches on it. That really, you know, got it to the point where, I mean,
kava is known to cause kidney failure frequently. It does this very often. Kidneys. I mean, no, sorry, not kidneys. Liver failure. So imagine kidneys. That's, I mean, the liver, you know, the liver will fail before your kidneys do if it's an emergency. And it takes a lot to make them fail. Anything that'll make your liver fail can make your kidneys fail also in the long term.
And this is coming from herb?
Yeah, it's called kava. I don't know how it works. I don't think anyone knows exactly how it works on the GABAergic system, but it does something that if you take it in a really concentrated form, it's almost like an alcoholic beverage. But you were probably taking the bark form, right? Like in pills, big pills.
I don't know, man. I'm an idiot. I was probably taking 10 times more than you're supposed to, so that probably didn't help either. But
Me too. Yeah, valerian root is actually stronger and less dangerous. I mean, less dangerous in the sense that you don't have to take a huge amount of it, so that your blood has to be clean.
Another thing that helps the anxiety in the morning is smoking a little bit of the THC vape, but I don't like doing that. It makes me stupid.
I have like thousands and thousands of milligrams of CBD oil that I
That
don't know what to do with
helps.
it. It doesn't help me. I mean, I don't have anxiety, so I can't.
No,
really...
no, it doesn't help with that, but it helps me. Like, it's a nice sleep remedy for me, at least.
Really, huh? I should ship it to you. So questions are we have so many questions. Let's keep it on the next time. Oh wow. Someone tried to. There was one troll question only.
What? Let's hear it.
No, you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. Tell me.
He's a masochist. Boston's a masochist. People don't know this.
Let's hear this.
So the guy said, this is Leaky Delt, who often has good questions, but he says, let's see some lighthearted questions to keep it fun. If given the choice between normal functioning kidneys or a normal sized dick, which one would you choose and why?
Well, I actually measured my dick the other day. So that's actually a good question, dude. I don't know if I measured it wrong or what, but I was 6 inches and I was shocked. Because I was always like 5.2, 5.3. so according to the fucking Google, 5.5 is average. So according to Google, I'm a ½ inch bigger than average. Dude, I remember in high school, me and my friends, we used to always measure dicks. We used to measure our dicks. And we used to report.
I was about to say we used to measure each other's dicks.
And we did not like actually on each other, but we would be in the same room and see who's bigger. And dude, I was always the smallest, but I was always the thickest.
my girlfriend's over here shaking her head, looking at me like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?"
I think we should leave it on that note. That was a funny episode. Anyway, we'll continue though on Saturday, huh? On schedule.
If you could
just for the audience to know, I delayed this so much because I was distantly celebrating with my family.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I pulled the